Welcome to Super Agents Live. This is the one place where you can come and hear the most successful people in real estate. You'll hear how these super agents built their businesses, how they stay productive, and how they stay motivated. Who am I? My name's Toby Salgado, and I made my first million in real estate. And I'm your host for the next 30 minutes while we talk to yet another amazing real estate entrepreneur. Stay tuned.
Let's go! Yeah!
Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Toby Salgado right here with Super Agents Live. If you are new to the show, let me tell you what we do very briefly. I talk with the most successful people in real estate. We talk about how they built their business, what they learned along the way, so you don't have to make the same mistakes. Now, I'm delivering this episode a little bit late, so hey, look, I'm sorry about that. But here at my house, I'm having a party this weekend. It's going to be like 120 people here. So I've been super busy trying to get stuff together and clean up the yard and all that stuff. So today's episode is I do my first panel. I've never had two people on at one time. I wasn't too concerned with it, but so it's a different dynamic than just doing a one person, especially. And if you have listened to our previous episode was with this guy, Rick Ruby, just a super intense guy. I've gotten a lot of good feedback on that on Twitter. So if you haven't listened to that, go check it out. Now, here's what our guest covers today. They have this be everywhere type of marketing strategy, and they really do it all. They do a great job of social media. We talk about that. They do a great job with emailing their database with videos. So they're constantly mining their database with different types of content. They're on radio. We also talk about how they built their team and why you should build a team. So there's lots of nuggets in here. Now, for you, if you like this episode and you don't want to miss future shows just like this, you're going to want to do two things. First, go to the site at superagentslive.com, download my ebook, and join our free member site. We have lots of good spreadsheets right there in the silver category, and you should check them out. So, if you listen to this episode and you're like, hey, I want to copy what the most successful people are doing with radio, send me an email. Let's chat. That's certainly part of our platform here. Before we get to it, follow the show on Twitter at Super Agents Live. Let's get to the show.
Good.
Today's guest is someone I want you guys to pay attention to. They are doing a ton of social stuff right. More right than I've seen in a long time. They have a radio show. They're using video. They do community events. Let's dig in. I'm thrilled to welcome my first panel, Adrinne Lally and Attilio Leonardi. Hey, guys. Thanks for taking the time out.
Hi there.
Hi, Toby. Thanks for having us on.
No problems.
Yeah.
So listen, you guys are doing a ton of stuff right. And for everybody out there, if you're listening to this, I would love for you guys to go check out their website. It is at Team Lally, LALLY.com. See what they're doing because they're doing a ton of stuff right. You know, you guys are using, look, hold on. Let me back up. I gave everybody a little overview of you guys and what you're doing, but maybe take a minute, both Adrienne and Attilio, tell us a little bit about yourself so people can get a feel for who you are, and then tell us about your business.
All right. Ladies first. Go ahead.
Okay, so originally I'm from Maryland, and I joined the Army about 12 years ago, and I was stationed over at Schofield Barracks as my first duty station. So after having my first child, I decided that I was no longer I did not want to be deployed and be gone from my child for 15 months. So I got out of the Army and I started doing real estate. I grew up in the real estate business, so I felt like it was something that I was familiar with and that I could do and it would be fun. So, so I've been doing real estate, and with every child, it became more and more difficult. So that's why, we started the team so that we could, be successful with our clients and with our family.
Yeah. And look, and before, and just hold on until before you jump in, I just,
Sure.
one thing about that, that I want to impress everybody in the audience is, this is what I say about real estate, right? You guys are a very successful team. You're very successful individuals, but in real estate, man, you don't have to have a fancy education, right? You came out of the Army.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to have a giant network, a giant sphere to be successful. So I love that about your background. Sorry, Attilio, go for it.
No, I was just going to chime in and just say, hey, our success is like, I don't know, I think it was a quote from Thomas Edison or something like that. It came camouflaged in overalls, and it's called work. We are just willing to outwork anybody 10 times over, and it's not just about work to be busy, but about being efficient. So speaking of efficient, a little bit about myself. I got my license, didn't do anything with it for 2 years. And then I realized, hey, you know what? I've been in sales. I just need to move to a bigger ticket item. I love being in sales. That, since high school, I've always been selling. And I was actually started working with people back in the bubble period of all these homeowners that were upside down and needing to do a short sale. And I literally would go knock on their doors and say, and it wasn't any fancy spiel. It was, do you need help? My name's Attilio. I'm a realtor. I noticed you got an auction date coming up. And they would invite me in and say, no one's ever knocked on my door, offered to help me. Started doing a ton of those. So it's like pick the worst kind of transaction you can do and cut your teeth on it as a brand new realtor. And then everything else after that is a piece of cake. And then I actually got an equity listing referral because I was up so early calling banks that this agent from Florida didn't realize that no one's up. And I'm up calling the banks. And he says, I got a buddy of mine needs to sell his golf course listing. He's not facing foreclosure. He's not upside down. This is an equity sale. And I'm like, whoa, what do you do with those? So I call my broker, give me the top 3 agents. I need to partner up with somebody so he can teach me how to do this stuff because I'm doing the, guerrilla type real estate here. And an interesting thing, they were all ladies. We're all the top 3 agents in our brokerage. And 2 of them were out of the other office that was further from me. And then Adrienne was in the closer office. So you see the massive scientific procedure that I went through to determine my future partner. But sometimes that's kismet, it just happens. And it's synergy. 1 + 1 wasn't 2. 1 + 1 equals 11. I could have gone and started a team. But what I told Adrienne, and she'll know the answer to this, and you got to know what someone's why is. Adrienne, what's my why?
Your time. Time is very valuable. Time with your family.
With my family, not doing real estate 23 hours a day. Even though I did answer your email very early this morning because I'm ready to work. But that's me in a nutshell. I'm a local boy, born and raised.
Awesome. Okay. So you guys have a lot of stuff that looks like magic. You guys are doing a lot of stuff that I tell people do, right? So you're using video, right? If I land right on your site, you have a you have a listing, you have a client testimonial. You guys are doing radio. So let's talk about that, right? So you have and look, if I'm at your site. And if I go to links, you have a client appreciation party, you have business partners, a business directory, you have Aloha City Rollers, Pacific. You have doing all this community outreach. I mean, let's talk about the number of lead generation sources, or I'm sorry, lead generation channels that you have, and which ones are working for you. So
well, I would say that a big one is our radio.
Yeah, I'd say that's number 1.
Yeah, so we're on ESPN. We're also on KHVH, 2 more like talk radio stations, and they really target those demographics that are purchasing and selling. So radio is huge for us. We do get a lot of recognition, and it's kind of like with all these different sources that we're pushing the advertising out through. It's like most of the time the consumers will get pinged from different sources. Like they'll get a postcard and then they'll hear us on the radio,
right.
Or maybe like they've gotten on our mailing list somehow and they've gotten a video from us, and then then they hear us on the radio or they get a postcard. So it's like usually they're getting tapped from us from multiple sources, and it just like makes us look like, oh my gosh, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
I need to work with them.
Right.
Or hey, I need to send my friends to work with them because they know what they're doing.
I think it builds credibility, so before you actually walk in the room to sit down and do a listing presentation, they're pretty much 80% of the way there.
Yeah, they're done. I mean, you guys have, if you're on the radio and you're talking about, you're talking about the market or whatever, instant, not only credibility, but, you are an instant expert, right? You're on the radio. You have to be an expert.
Yes.
Now,
exactly.
So I've had a bunch of people that on the show that we talked about off air, but there's 2 ways to do radio. There is one way is just to do ads and have either the local host say, hey, I wouldn't work with anybody else except for Adrienne and Attilio, or 2, do what you do, which is you have a radio show. You are a radio celebrity. Why did you go down that path, and how did you guys come up with that?
Well,
Adrienne.
yeah, it's no secret. We're really good at copying what works. And I don't know, maybe it was like 3 or 4 years ago, I was checking out Jay Kinder because he was doing so many transactions. I was like, what is this guy doing?
He's been on my
I
show.
was clicking around his website. I'm sure he has. We've seen him. We've gone to his
the Rate Mastermind. Yeah,
the Rate Mastermind, and then over at his Exponential Growth Summit, which we're going to be going to.
Mike Reese lived in Hawaii for a little bit.
Yeah. So, anyways, I was clicking on his site, and somehow I clicked over to Matt's site, which is the radio and television expert. And next thing you know, Matt's contacting me and wanted to talk more about radio and what it could do for our business.
Well, to answer his question, the reason why we did the show, because I think, Adrienne, what is it, about 10-20% of the rate agents actually do a show? The rest of them are
there's 30 of us that actually
30
do
of us.
a show because of the cost, the cost
and
for
time,
the shows
and
the time and you know, just the comfort level. It's, you know, it does take a big time commitment, but
we didn't know that at the time. And Matt said, "Do a radio show." We're like, "Okay, we'll do a radio show."
Yeah, so we.
And then you did too.
We're big fans of coaching. So if Matt says to do it, then hey, we're going to do what Matt says because he's helped all these agents become very successful. So we don't want to reinvent the wheel. We just want to roll it.
Humble implementation. That's Matt's line. Just be humble about it. Don't question it. Don't doubt it. Just duplicate.
See, that's so funny. That's so funny. I think that and before you said humble, I was actually going to say, that shows humility. That is something that not everybody has, man. There's in real estate, there are a lot of egos.
Yeah, big ones.
So is it, guys? Is it that you just didn't know any better, and you just was there some sort of being naive that you said, okay, yeah, we'll jump on and do it. We'll spend the money. We'll have faith.
Well, no, it actually took Matt a little while to convince us because it was a lot of money for the investment, and then he invited us to the mastermind, and that was in Vegas, and somehow I overslept when I was supposed to be there.
But from day one, we did the show. We didn't do a little couple of radio advertisements. From day one, we did the show. I mean, we walked in there and we're like, we have no idea what we're doing here. And so after a couple of shows, and just like how you've done these, then we started scripting things out, and we learned from the professionals that the more you produce it, the better it sounds. And I'm a big fan of This American Life. I don't know if you've ever listened to their
of course.
Episodic radio. I mean, that's like the Mount Olympus for radio. But the other thing is, we with radio, it's we didn't want it to be this dull, like, hey, today's interest rates and the median sale price, and this is what's going on in your neighborhood. We have fun with it. I mean, we have quotes in the beginning of the show that are from Jack Handy, and I don't know if you remember him.
Sure,
SNL, but so a quote in the beginning of our show would be like, "Don't you hate it if you're a cowboy dragging somebody behind you and you look back and they were reading a magazine?" So, I mean, stuff like that, and then it grabs people's attention. And Adrienne, what do we call that?
Edutainment.
Edutainment. We're educating them while entertaining.
That's so funny. And then we did a show, like a live remote show from one of my roller derby bouts.
Yeah.
So, I had to go skate in this big tournament, but I didn't want to miss the radio show. So we just did it from our cell phones.
Yeah.
And we interviewed some of the roller derby coaches, and we tied it into teamwork. Because, with roller derby, you got to work together as a team, to score the points. The same thing with real estate.
You got to work as a team.
Yeah, it was an interesting show. We actually had a seller
directly from that call, we got an $800,000 listing.
Amazing, man. Amazing. Okay, well, look, one last question. We can move on from you. But what percentage of your business comes from radio?
You know what? It's hard to say because people, they'll come in and they'll say, "Well, we heard you on the radio," but then we also were on your website. So it's very hard to track. I guess just the specific percentage. But most time people they do hear us, but maybe we ping them another way.
I think we have so much marketing going that sometimes even the client themselves don't remember. They're in our clutches.
They're in the web.
And we're being sticky. Web. Yeah, they're all sticky in there, and they're like, I don't know how I ended up in here, but I like your message. I like you guys. You have an excellent track record. Let's get this home sold or help me buy a home.
Here's another example. We have a $3 million seller listing over in North Shore who's being referred to us from another agent because it's kind of beyond her scope. And he's been listening to us. He's heard us on Sean Hannity. He's heard us on Rick Hamada. He's heard our radio show. So he's coming to us through another agent who's, I guess solidifying that relationship. But I mean, he didn't pick up the phone and call from the radio, but he felt more confident.
It's solidifying our relationship, and to be honest with you, on that one, there was a previous the immediate past agent got fired, so we're next up and up to bat, and he's feeling confident with all the marketing that we're doing, even though he didn't have any exposure to it initially. So it helps you keep clients moving along on that path of travel to list their home with you and keep moving forward.
Got it. And look, the reason why I asked that is because Brett Kelly, somebody that you guys know, he's in a little. I'm trying to get a feeling for radio and the size of market that you're in, because Brett Kelly is in Montana in a little 80,000 person market, but 50% of his business comes from radio. So, and then I have somebody, there was somebody, I think Kathy Toth, she's in Maryland in a mid-sized market, and that is, radio is 30%. So here's what you guys are doing that I love. So you have the radio number one. People get to know who you are. They get a sense of, Adrienne's temperament and Attilio's sense of humor. And then you also are doing that same thing with these videos that you have, right? You're putting yourself out there, as well as all these, the roller derby thing. I think that is so important to put your personality, get it out there as much as possible. What do you think of that, Attilio?
Yeah, I think it's important because, a lot of, it's like a doctor. If you got a doctor that's like excellent at brain operations or whatever, but he's got a horrible bedside manner.
Right.
You'll reluctantly go along and do business with him as an expert, but you probably, say, hey, if there was somebody that was just slightly not as good as him, but had an excellent bedside manner, I would switch, even though there's probably a 1% chance I might not survive with the other guy. It's so much, it's the rapport. I mean, you develop this relationship. I mean, they're stressing out, and they want to know that you're going to make them feel good doing something that creates a lot of stress. So I think it's important. One of the things we tell people is listen to our show. It's a way for you to passively interview us. Because a lot of times clients are, they're scared of the salesperson, the scary guy who's going to hypnotize us and make us sign a listing agreement.
Right. So
they can passively do that with the radio show and the video, get to know us, kind of like, I don't know. They're like, they can stalk us without us knowing and decide whether they want to do business with us.
Right, I love it. And again, if not everybody can be on the radio, but people can sort of simulate that by, again, doing video and having it on, having it on their website. Maybe even doing Facebook ads and driving people to, some of these little, videos that they create about themselves. So,
or they could do like a podcast of some sort and post it online on their website, on iTunes. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to get the message out if radio is outside of the budget. Because, like you said, different markets, I mean, it just doesn't make sense. One of our friends out in Seattle, I think that they pay like $11,000 a month, and they just get like the straight reads. They don't even get a show. Yeah. So
right.
It just depends on the market that you're in.
We're finding that on the outer islands like Maui and stuff, that it's a little bit less costly and we can actually reach more people. But it is a smaller population base.
Right. I think overall the average, it's a crazy. It's like with a rate group, it's like $3,000 to $20,000. It's just depending on your market. Now look, here's Here's what I'm seeing from you rate guys, and I want you to chime in on this. It's Boomtown for buyers leads and radio for listing leads. Is it you guys doing that same thing?
Yeah.
Pretty much, that's the formula.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and then we just added REW as another website to help generate both buyer and seller leads.
What is that?
And we use Real Estate Webmasters with Morgan over there. They have they created some really nice sites for agents like Mark Z in Detroit, who does a ton of transactions. Same thing. Mark Stain as well. He's got a REW site, and we just wanted to revamp our website and make it just a little bit more clean and easy to use. Our main site, our Team Lally site. That's I think right now it's in Real Pro.
Yeah.
We need to switch out.
The other thing I wanted to say, I mean, we're talking about stuff that's big, huge budgets. I mean, we've got the transaction flow that can accommodate that and support it. If there's listeners out there, brand new agents, if we're trying to appeal to the full spectrum of the listeners out there, like, well, I can't do that. That's like totally out of my reach. We didn't start with this in the beginning, but there are things that you can start in the beginning of your career, and one of them is just to start leveraging your time. Virtual assistants would be things that we recommend. I mean, because if you don't have an admin person doing it, then you're doing admin work and you're not doing the other parts that only you can do, like meeting with the client and generating more listings and buyer transactions. So I would say, the team is a great concept. My prediction is that the solo agent's going to go away and it'll just be teams. And if you get your brand new license, you'll interview with different teams and cut your teeth initially working with the team and either stay with that team or go start your own team.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it's an interesting look. If you're going to have any kind of a life, right, you need to have a team. You need to have a team, of at least 5, right? And then you can put some sanity back into your world and get to know your kids. But I think here's the deal. What I see, and I want you guys to speak to this. Most agents do not run their real estate business like a business. They run it as sort of like they're a different kind of a job, and I think that's where people fail.
Yes.
Now, well, we've had a lot of different coaches. We've coached with Brian Buffini, and his whole thing is really like working your database, working referrals.
By referrals, yeah.
Doing the calls, the notes, the pop buys, and the client appreciation, right? And then he has this, you got to do your business plan, and we go over, are you on track, and that sort of thing. But Buffini is great coaching, but it was really more targeted towards the solo agent. Yeah. So then we moved over to Corcoran Coaching, and they did a great job. Really coached us more towards like as a business owner, and helped us to get more organized with running our team more like a business, and becoming more efficient, and looking at the numbers and making sure that we're doing what makes sense.
And coaching doesn't have to be paying somebody $1,000 a month. Coaching is getting a book, like reading the REW from Gary Keller. That's a playbook for how to be a successful agent.
Called The Millionaire Real Estate Agent.
Yeah, MERW. And right now we're reading Steve Cantor's $1 Billion Agent Manifesto. And he interviewed had 1,000 conversations with top producing agents of $1 million GCI minimum. And he's like, this is what they're doing. He's one of those high C MBA guys. He wasn't a realtor, but he studied what good realtors did and put it in a little book, and he gave it to us. He literally handed it to us at the door at the Rate Mastermind. And I've been reading that thing, and I'm like, wow, we have a lot of work to do. Specific hands-on things, not theoretical things like this model works and this model doesn't work, so you want to do the one that works or doesn't. And that's a book. That was a free book. That's coaching. You got to pick up book. I always tell people on my team, what's on your nightstand? If it's Stephen King's awesome. He's making a ton of money. He already is a millionaire, but that ain't going to help you be a millionaire in this business.
Right.
So get your coaching, and it starts with reading books, listening to shows like this that you're putting together right now, subscribing to it. That's coaching that doesn't cost you anything. And always, I forgot who was it, Brent Grove, he said, be a student of real estate.
Always be learning.
Yeah.
Always be learning, because we go to college to get a degree, but we're like thinking we're winging it doing the real estate business, and you get winging it results.
100%. And I'll tell you something. So my first show, I've done more than 100 interviews, and I've released 84 episodes so far. Episode number 1 was with Dave Jenks, who co-wrote The Millionaire Real Estate Agent with Gary Keller and Jay Popson. And that's what he stressed. He said, you have to be learning based. That is like your foundation. Be learning, and if you can always be learning based, that's how you're going to grow personally and succeed. Now, for the most part, you guys, I mean, Adrienne, I know your mom was a realtor. Then you went and joined the Army, and then you jumped back into real estate. I mean, Attilio at least had some sales skills. He's been selling since he was in high school. But, weren't you a little bit of fish out of water? I mean, coming from a very regimented, Army background, and then you have zero, structure once you get into real estate. How did you adjust to that?
Well, I did. I was in gymnastics all through my childhood, so having that discipline as far as like getting the coaching and just having that work ethic, I think that played into it. The other thing is that I also bartended in between joining the Army, so I think I had a little bit of the sales skills there, and then just hearing my mom growing up and being around the business. But I always swore I would never do real estate because of the amount of time that it took for her and the amount of stress and then just the drama that she was always dealing with. So I said, I don't want to do this. And she invited me to come be, in her office and get my license and help her in Florida, but I wanted nothing to do with it. So instead, I joined the Army. I was like, I'm going to go fight this war. I'm joining the Army. And off I went. But, and I know having kids, having a family, it really, it just changed everything. And I wanted to continue to help military families. So that was my specialty when I started with real estate. I really was very passionate about helping the military families and learning more about the VA benefit. How can they purchase a home using their BAH? I noticed that a lot of the sellers didn't want to work with VA buyers because they didn't have the cash down. So really, it was more about educating those agents and educating, the industry on why they should accept the VA offer. And I just really was very passionate about helping, the military families, and that's how I started to grow my client base right out of the military and not really knowing anybody here in Hawaii.
Got it. And look, really quickly, I mean, my background is as a real estate investor. And that's kind of, I work with so many agents that most of them are terrible, and that's one of the reasons why I started this show. But for me, when I was going to sell a house, I hated VA offers. It's more restrictive on me. It costs me more money. Tell us, maybe other people are struggling with that. What would you say? How would you convince somebody that they should take a VA deal?
Well, honestly, I think that the VA, it's backed by the government, right? Mm-hmm. And, it's 100% financing. So the client doesn't need to worry about coming up with a down payment or the closing costs. Life happens, people lose jobs, investments go down. A number of things can happen. If you get a pre-approval for a VA buyer, the bank's guaranteeing that they can, close at this amount. It could take a little bit longer than a conventional or obviously cash deal. But, I've seen VA loans close in less than 30 days, 20, 25 days. And, a lot of times the VA buyers will come in at full price or even over asking price to help compensate for that difference. So if you're looking at the bottom line and, making a little bit more money, hey, it pays to work with the VA buyer. And, they served our country.
Yes.
Help them become a homeowner.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay. So earlier, Attilio, you were talking about leveraging your time. And, and how that's so important unpack that a little bit. Because look, most agents, they might start work at 10, but they're working at like 9 o'clock, taking phone calls. If you live a crazy life like that, how do you leverage your time and become more efficient, put parameters around how you work?
Well, I think the first part, and it's that when you're I'm going to use a surfing analogy because we're in Hawaii and I've surfed all my life, is that first wave is just totally freaky and it scares the heck out of you. But once you do it after a while, it's like, oh, this is a piece of cake. I should have done this a long time ago. And that's getting that first assistant. And a lot of times people are like, well, I can't afford the $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 to go pay a good assistant. What do I do? Because I'm barely keeping my head above the water. I have a lot of business, but I'm not as efficient as I need to be. And my family is really pulling on me because I'm working like 100 hours a week.
Yeah.
I think it's finding a partner, because a partner is a great way to divvy up the labor without having an initial upfront investment. But the two key things, and we were talking about it before, about ego getting in the way of a decision-making process for us agents. I tell people all the time, I'm a high I and Adrienne's a high D, so she's very low-key. You know, I got the humor, I do all the public speaking, and I have a huge ego. Big, you know, sometimes in a room it's not big enough to hold my ego. But the key to my success in my initial partnership and how I gained leverage was that I have enough humility, was the word you used, to submit my ego. When I first partnered up with Adrienne, I told her, you know what, you and I are going to debate on issues and all of that so that we make a good decision. But at the end of the day, and that still is today, Adrienne, who ultimately, if we are at a stalemate, who ultimately makes the final decision?
That would be me.
That would be Adrienne. So she's got that 1%, you know, so because you can't have an organization with two CEOs. It's like a two-headed snake in nature. Just you will not survive, or a two-headed calf. Somebody's ultimately got to make that final decision. And it's very rare that we get to that stalemate, and it's more about what is best for the team. We have families that we are obligated to that are on our team, and they're supporting and feeding their families, and we take that into consideration. But if you're going to, like you said, treat this not like a job but like a business, you're going to have to bring people on and create a team. But initially that first step is like roller skating or riding a bike or learning how to surf or that first radio show. Find somebody that's willing to take that leap of faith with you and has a similar, you know, or complementary personality. And that would be you're just going to have to partner up with another agent and coalesce on things and work together as a team. And then as you build more production, you start pushing out more and more of those admin tasks. Because if you don't have admin, you are admin. I know that's from Gary Keller.
Yeah, for sure. And look, let me talk about what you guys have done. You know, I haven't seen a lot of people that have teamed up like you two guys, right? You teamed up, then you built a team. And as I was thinking while you were talking, Attilio, it reminded me of something. So, you know, venture capital, right? So people go and they want to start a tech company. They go out and try to get venture capital. Now, one of the things that venture capitalists will not fund, or very, very rarely fund, is a solo entrepreneur. They want to see a team, right? They want to see at least two people. And the reason for that is that, you know, starting a business is hard, man. And you get down and you know, and it's when you have that for you, you have Adrienne, or, you know, Adrienne has you. When times get tough, you have somebody to lean on, you know, and you have somebody that's in this game with you. And, you know, I mean, for you guys, how important is that dynamic, the ability to lean on one another? And it's because of this, right? Real estate it's a business of rejection. It's a business of no. That's what you hear no all the time. And sometimes you have those days where you're like, I can't get beat up again today, man. I don't want to do it. You know, have you guys ever felt like that? And how's your dynamic working together been helpful for you guys to go out and find success?
Yeah, I'll make a quick statement and let Adrienne take it from there. But you're right. What's key to us is that if I'm down, she's up, and if she's down, I'm up. And that's usually how it kind of works out. But if we're both down, then we just like slap each other and get over it. But
slap therapy.
There you go. That's what I call slap therapy. Get over it. Adrienne, I'll let you go with that. Go ahead.
Well, you know, yeah, you're right. You know, this business is a series of rejection, but, you know, we choose not to focus on that. You know, we're just moving on. Okay, you know what? That's their problem if they don't want to work with us.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it's your attitude and just keeping that positive mental attitude to not be down by the rejection.
Yeah. And you know, our business, I would say we got reality TV has nothing on what we actually do for a living. I mean, I'll change the names to protect the innocent, but I'm like talking with a seller yesterday, and he's telling me how he brought his shotgun off and shot a round into the ground, and one of the pellets flattened the neighbor's tire. So when we do the open house, make sure that neighbor doesn't come over to their house. I'm like, where do you see reality TV where we can have that kind of conversations? Or
right?
You know, I just laugh. I'm like, this is totally hilarious. Okay, we'll make sure that neighbor doesn't come over.
Didn't he go to jail for that too?
Oh yeah, he went to jail for a couple of days. So like, hey, you know, it's like we're like therapists / realtors because we get a lot of confessions.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, so look, one of the things.
And those interesting. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. What, you're going to say something interesting.
No, I was going to say it's those interesting things that keep you from like getting over yourself and going, dang, what am I being bummed out for? This person just lost their job, and
right.
We get the country song in reverse seller, and we've dealt with a lot of distressed homeowners. But I want to go back to what Adrienne said. You know what's been the key? We when somebody says, "What do you do for a living?" I don't automatically say I'm a realtor. I tell people I help people, and we're really good at helping people, and they send their friends and relatives to us because they want help too. And we've always been busy regardless of what the economy has been doing. And that's what I want to tell people is build a strategically driven business versus an economically driven business. And Adrienne, what does that mean?
So with an economically driven business, it means that, if the economy is going up or down, so is your business. But with the strategic, we've continued to grow each year. And we continue to be more and more successful no matter what the market's doing, because people are always going to need help.
So hold on a second. So what is that? Tell me, unpack that a little bit, because I was who did I have on earlier today? Some guy said, hold on, let me tell you who I had. You know this guy? Oh, Mark Gelman. So I had Mark on earlier today, and Mark said, "Hey, my business." It doesn't matter what the economy is doing, right? My business is independent of outside economic factors. And that's really kind of what you guys are telling me right now. Tell me, what does that look like? How do you grow in any kind of market?
Well, I think that it's just adapting to what's selling. Like, so for example, when the economy here was struggling,
blowing up,
people were losing their homes, they actually came up with a law, and it was a really stupid law, that basically made it very difficult for realtors to work with distressed sellers. And it was to protect the consumer, but it really hurt them because all these agents didn't want to bother with them. Plus, it was a lot of work. So that's what we did. We went after them. I was like, I don't care about this rule. My clients need help. I'm going to help them. And,
it was a law. Yeah, it was a law that created a lot of exposure to us and litigation-wise. And we said, you know what, we're just going to do it. If you take care of people and you're nice to them and you truly help them, they're not going to litigate against you. But there were entire brokerages that sent out memos saying we will not handle short sales, distressed homeowners.
Got it.
And we're like, good, bring it.
Right,
and
more
we
for
got
us.
real busy. Yeah, and So anyway, I like your question about unpacking it. I'll give a quick tip that anybody can do right now. I don't care if they just got their license or they're doing 100 transactions a year. I told this to Jay Papazon. I saw him at Keller Williams Family Reunion. I walked up to him. I said, your book, The One Thing, that is my second favorite book. And obviously that begs the question is, and he asked me, and I didn't tell him, but he asked me, what's your number one favorite book? And I said, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie.
Yeah.
We are in a people business, and I think everybody is. And I've been reading that book. I think I first started reading that book when I was 19, so I've been reading it for 20-plus years. Our team reads it once a year. My 6-year-old knows the skill sets that are in that book. My teenagers know it. My wife knows it. One of them is the number one. Adrienne, what's the number one thing to everybody?
Their name.
Their name.
Remember their name.
Remember their name. And the more names you can remember, the better you'll be. When somebody walks into the office, anybody listening to this podcast who's an agent, they can do this right now. Get a nice frame, 8.5 by 11, that fits an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. Put it in an easel. When they walk into your place of business, and your place of business can be Starbucks, have a frame sign that has what on it, Adrienne?
Their name, along with a welcome.
Yeah.
The team Lally welcomes, and then the client's name.
That's 50 cents, $10 frame, and by the way, you want to save money, go to Ross. They got all the same stuff at Tier 1 import, but cheaper.
No, I love that.
People are like, no one's ever done that.
No, that is such a great tip. I mean, when I have a tire shop, I use the same tire shop. They do that for me with my tire shop, right? They reserve me a parking space. This is reserved for Toby, and I drive up and get my tires changed. That's a great idea. I mean, what other things? If somebody's out there and they're, we have everybody from brand new agents listening to this show as well as people who have 1,500 person brokerages. If somebody's out there and they're struggling in their business, what do you think? Where can people find? Is there sort of some low hanging fruit that people can go out and grab? That's kind of a crazy
So let's
question.
see, call your
Call your database.
Call your past clients. They love you already, and just remind them and teach them how to refer business to you. Because most of the time, people, they don't understand how, they'll say, "Oh yeah, I told my friend about you," but then you gotta train your database. You gotta train your past clients on how to refer you, and just have those conversations with them. Take them out to coffee. Send them a personal note. We've done really well with that. Just, taking the time.
What is the 4 keys there? It's called number 1, pick, number 2, up, and number 3, and number 4, phone. Pick up the phone. Call people. And you gotta call. You gotta it's call, email, Facebook message, hang out in their home. I mean, stalk people, because we are in a society where 80% of emails are garbage.
Yep.
Commercials and the Facebook, we're just being hammered by stuff, and you got to cut through the clutter. And literally, I made up this voicemail, and I'm going to share it with your listeners. And this is gold. Every time somebody uses it, they got to pay me a 25% royalty fee. No, they can use it for free. And I said, okay. And Dirk Ziller, he's one of these buyer agent coaches. He said, come up with something that's going to create a memory hook. And they're like, I'm going to call this guy back. He's either crazy or really good at what he's at. Let me call him and find out which one it is. And so I say, hi, this is Attilio from Team Lally. I know, don't worry if you don't get back to me. I'll keep following up with you till we make a connection. That's my nice way of saying I'm going to keep calling you and bugging the hell out of you till you return my call. And then I say, these voice messages that I'm leaving with you, they're like messages in a bottle. And I'm on a deserted aisle, and I'm going to keep sending out these messages in a bottle to you with these voicemails in hopes that one day you'll return my call and rescue me from this desert aisle. And what did the lady say yesterday? The daughter told her, Adrienne.
Oh, yeah, the daughter was like, "Oh, Mom, you got to call this guy back. He's talking about some message in a bottle."
Right.
Yeah, you got to call him. And I think we've called them for
20 times.
No, probably more now. We've been calling them for the last 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
Once a week with all different messages.
We got the 1.4. I've been talking off and on with this guy for 2 years. So this is like a Grant Cardone quote. Till you get a temporary restraining order, follow up.
Yeah.
And there's your little hanging fruit with your database.
And I'll tell you what. So if you wanted to get really creative for you guys, well, I'll get to the creative thing last, but so on that note, right? You said leave Facebook messages. That's great. You can follow them on Twitter, and if they're on Twitter, follow them on Twitter. Join into their conversation. That's the brilliant thing about Twitter is, I can follow you. It's one way, right? I can follow you and I can talk with you, even though you're not following me. But so a guy got a job. This was on the news a while back. This guy wanted a job. He knew the guy that was going to hire him. So what he did is went to Google, bought an ad, and created an ad with the guy's name in it, and then said, "Hey, come and check out my resume." Now, everybody now and again Googles their own name. So the guy Googled his name, and all of a sudden this ad popped up. Again, the kid got a job. So, I mean, maybe you could do that. That would be kind of interesting. You could do the same thing on Facebook. You can buy Facebook ads, and I could target, Adrienne Lally, right? And then, there's lots of interesting things you can do. So I love that.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. I just wrote that down.
Here we go.
Thank you.
Every time you use it, I need 20%. Anyhow, I'm just totally joking.
There you go.
So, okay, cool. So, again, I want to go back to, and we're going to start wrapping up here in a minute. I do want to go back to, if you could, really quickly, you guys are doing a ton of stuff, and that's what made you guys so interesting to me. Maybe just, Attilio, rattle off all the different things that you are doing, right? So video, community events, maybe just radio, maybe just rattle them off so people can write them down and they can try to replicate it in their market.
Sure. I mean, one of the big things is replicating the brand everywhere and anywhere you can. So I participate in things that you like. I'm not bombarding the little old ladies knitting club, because I don't knit. I like old ladies and they're really interesting to talk to, but I like soccer. So I sponsor 2 men's teams, put the name on the jersey. We've gotten leads from that. We use Frank Kletz from Viral Video. He helps us produce these videos 2 a month, and we're shooting them all the time. And I've shoot your video on your iPhone. You don't need any old fancy equipment, but they put it together and help you backtrack. One of the things we do is we've written a book called the Honolulu Real Estate Guide, and then
the Maui one too.
Maui Real Estate Guide. We send this book out, sold on Amazon.com for $20 plus shipping. We give it away free on our website. Somebody's seriously interested in buying a home that's PCSing or with the military transferring, we send them this book. All the other agents are sending them a personal note or some kind of email. They get a book. We take the content from that book, put it on our website. Adrienne, I know there's more. Keep going.
We do just listed postcards and just sold postcards. And on the just listed, it's not like, hey, the home's just listed. It's an invitation to our grand opening mega open house.
Yeah.
And then we'll go and we'll knock the doors of all the surrounding neighbors and invite
50
them to
neighbors,
come out.
knock on their door like this.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we do the radio. We do the individual spots. So we have our local talent and Sean Hannity and Colin Cowherd also endorsing us as well with the radio.
We bought a smart car and we wrapped it.
Ooh, that's a great one. That's a great one.
I don't know if anybody listens to if anybody does CrossFit, you're going to know what I'm talking about. But there's a clock in the CrossFit box that everybody watches when you're doing your workout of your day or your WOD. So we sponsored their little tournament that they had, and then I told them I want the banner below the clock because every time somebody works out in that gym, what are they looking at? They're looking at that clock, and right below it is our banner. But we had it really nicely professionally designed with the box's logo, and it's a nice-looking banner. It's not your cheesy realtor banner. And it doesn't. One of the things we're getting away from, Adrienne, is it is about our personality. But when we put these banners, it isn't like this big, huge headshots of Adrienne and myself. It's the logo, the branding team, Lally, and then the business itself, and we're supporting them. Adrienne, what else?
Well, you're doing the home.
Well, we're doing the community videos too.
Yep, that's awesome.
Videos.
Yeah,
you're doing the home valuation piece, and that's cool.
Guarantee. We have all the guarantees. We have a guaranteed sale.
If you're gonna do marketing, you got to have a golden brick, and that's called a call to action. Doing marketing without a call to action is a complete waste of time.
Yeah.
So we started a property management division, and Adrienne, tell them what the guaranteed rent is.
Yeah. So if we don't rent your home in 30 days, we'll pay the rent.
You will pay the rent? Are we crazy? Yeah. Yes, we are. We'll pay the rent.
Yeah. Okay. So we're that big that we know that it's going to get rented. So we can offer that guarantee.
Here's our guaranteed sold program. If we don't get your home sold, we'll, agreed upon price or a time frame, we'll have it bought. We'll buy your home. And then with the luxury listings, hey, if we don't get your home sold for agreed upon price, we'll pay the difference. Are you serious? Yes, we're serious. You should call us.
Holy smokes! How many? Let me ask. How many houses have you bought?
Let's see.
I think just the one.
Yeah,
just the one.
Everybody seems to everybody's only bought one, which is good. And I'll tell you. So you guys are doing the home value, and which is okay. But do you know Buddy Blake? I mean, all you rate guys seem to be.
Yes.
Yeah. So
yes, we know Buddy very well. Yeah, and we're part of his guaranteed sale.
Oh, you are.
People, I think we were one of the first people to sign up with him. We're a big fan club of Buddy Blake. He's awesome.
Yeah, Buddy's been on the show, and by the way, Frank Klesitz, the guy that you mentioned earlier, has been on the show. I'm telling you,
viral. Yeah,
you guys are good company.
Love those viral guys.
Hey, I love it, guys. Hey, thanks for coming on the show. I always ask one last question,
sure.
and Attilio, you gave us your book recommendation, which is How to Win Friends and Influence People
by Dale Carnegie.
What about you, Adrienne? I'm an aspiring agent. I have $25. What book should I go buy today?
I would say The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, because I read that book, I don't know, after being in the business 7-8 years. I'm like, holy crap, I wish I had this book when I started in the business. It would have been so much easier to just follow the playbook instead of, with the trial and error and making those mistakes. So, having a plan and following that book was my recommendation as a new agent.
I would add this to Adrienne's thought. And first of all, be cheap. Don't be buying it full retail. Sorry, Gary. Go
to Amazon.
Go to Amazon. Spend $25 and get 3 books: The Millionaire Real Estate Guide, the one book by Jay Papasan and How to Win Friends and Influence People. You could get those for $25 from on going cheap on Amazon, getting a used version.
Yeah, well, how about this?
Oh.
You can get it for free. All you have to do is use our link. It's audibletrial.com/superagentslive. You get a free book.
There you go.
And I'll tell you that the other thing too is I've found that a lot of books that I want, there are free PDFs out there, and I don't know how people do, but there's all those books you said I can probably get a free PDF just by Googling, which is kind of weird. All right, hey, listen. I'm sure everybody that is listening to this, they're going to want to say thank you. How do people reach you to, see your stuff, say hi, and say thank you for coming on the show?
Well, they can go to our website at teamlally.com, and that's LALLY. They can go to our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Team Lally Hawaii, or they could send an email to info@teamlally.com.
Awesome.
Yes.
Hey, guys, thanks again for coming on, and I hope all my guests reach out and say thanks and check out your stuff. I think you're doing a lot of stuff right.
All right, thank you. Thanks so much, Toby. Appreciate it.
All right, go get them.